Welcome to episode 41, another milestone episode. Really, this is part two of our look at youth sports and the models that we use in America, where we're contrasting that with what's going on in Norway. So an interesting aspect of youth sports is what other countries are doing, right? And so I think it's always a good idea to look at it. Speaking of youth sports in our country, let me go ahead and talk about our league that we're very proud of, our soccer league, and a specific person, which is Raiden Carrasco.
Raiden!
She is a turf smurf.
He is a
he is a turf smurf.
He is not a turf smurf.
He is not?
He is an Avenger.
He's an Avenger. You're wearing your turf smurf.
I'm wearing my turf smurf.
You're
Taya
representing.
is on the turf smurf team. That threw you off, didn't it?
It did throw me
My
off.
bad.
No,
Raiden is an Avenger. Yep.
Normally, I don't read these because the coaches do a pretty good job but the coach did such a good job in this one. Candace, I really just want to read what Raiden is about. Raiden, a powerhouse on the field, full of energy, effort, and determination. His strong presence and power kick make him a real asset to the team, she says. He shows up to every game and practice ready to give it his all, and he's been working hard to grow not just as a player, but as a teammate, which is important. This season, Raiden has really embraced the idea of playing as one unit, and it's been awesome to see him grow and shine with the team. That's incredible to have a coach have those kinds of comments about you as a player.
Yes.
Raiden obviously does a really good job. You're familiar with his work. And Coach Candace is really, really proud of Raiden. Raiden, for your efforts, you are our player of the week. Sponsored by Lionheart. Go to lionheartkids.org to learn more about them. They are a tremendous faith-based child care organization that works right here at Lake Church. They do a great job. They've been around for over 10 years and just a fantastic organization. If you're looking for child care needs, go check them out.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about whether April showers bring May flowers, and we are finally in the month of May by the time this comes out. So hopefully we're going to see some of those May flowers and less of the April showers. But speaking of all those things, the reason why I bring that up is because we've had makeup games, right? And our coach of the week goes to an assistant coach of like 3 teams. This guy's name is Don White. He is the assistant coach of, like I said, 3 teams. All 3 of his teams, his kids play on. And this past Saturday, Don had his game. He also had a makeup game. And this Saturday, the head coaches weren't there. And so along with his other 2 kids' games, he had 2 games, and then he head coached 2 more games. This guy was a busy man, and I doubt he has a voice today, is what I'm going to tell you.
Right.
But Don's also our mailman, by the way.
Oh, really?
He is.
Okay.
Yep, he's a good dude.
Okay.
Don gave it his all, and he stepped in a time when both the assistant coach and the head coach were not there, and just did a tremendous job. So, Don, kudos to you. Thank you so much for stepping in. Thank you so much for all the ways that you encourage all of your kids. And so you are this week's Coach of the Week, sponsored by Exquisite Irrigation and Lawns. Again, Derek Hicks, he's the owner of Exquisite, such a solid guy. They do our fields. They made our little mini field, Jewel Field last year. So if you're looking for lawn care or irrigation needs, contact Derek Hicks at exquisitelawns.com.
All right, let's dig into this. We, in our last episode, talked about the American model of youth sports. And today, as we've teased already, we're going to talk about the Norway model of youth sports. Could you have picked Norway out on a map before today?
No, I had to look it up. And what I found is it's way north of Texas.
It is north of Texas.
And I wish that it was a little more south. I would think about moving there, I think, based on what we're going to talk about today.
Right.
But me and cold weather, we just don't mix. So Norway, I wish you were more south.
So aside from that, most people are probably thinking the same thing that you thought when I told you about this, which is why would we want to copy anything that Norway does? Right?
Todd, do you know what language Norwegians speak? Do they speak English?
Norwegianese.
Norwegianese.
I just made that up.
I wonder what accent they have.
I could probably do it. I've watched enough Winter Olympics that I could do it.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not going to because I don't want to embarrass myself. So I don't know. Think Sweden, right?
Okay.
They're next door to Sweden.
Yeah, because they're neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweden.
So you may be thinking, okay, what does Norway have to teach us about athletics? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going back to some things in 2022. That was the last time we had the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
And so you may be thinking, okay, it's cold in Norway. They excel at Winter Olympic things. More than that, right? So I have in 2022, when the last Winter Olympics occurred, Norway also had the number 1 ranked athlete in the men's 1,500 meters track.
That's not a winter sport.
That's not a winter sport.
Yep.
The number 1 ranked athlete in men's 400 meter hurdles.
Also not a winter sport.
Also not a winter sport. The number 5 ranked men's tennis player in the world.
Also not a winter sport.
The number 9 ranked men's golfer.
Same.
They had the reigning Olympic triathlon gold medalist.
Wow.
Okay. The reigning Ironman record holder.
Well, it's always better to train in cold weather anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, here's one. The reigning Olympic champion beach volleyball team.
That is definitely not
a
cold
sport.
weather. Yeah, let's go Norway.
And oh, by the way, the last 3 Olympic Winter Games, they led the entire world in medal count, right?
Wow.
Except for one, which was the Russians, but they had the whole doping scandal, so we don't include them. But obviously, this is a country that is well-versed in athletics and have had a lot of success, not just in winter sports, but all sports. And so how do they do it? What do they do? Because let's talk about how big is Norway. The United States, right? We've talked about the American model. The United States, pretty big country.
Yeah.
If you were to take the population of Norway, it would fit in Metro Detroit.
Wow.
Right. And yet they still have this many people that are succeeding and excelling in sports, right?
That's crazy.
So let's talk about their model. In contrasting how we do things, Norway, they emphasize that in youth sports, you will play multiple sports. Okay.
So important.
They play their youth sports at the local club. That is, in your neighborhood.
Yeah, when we say club, we don't mean club as in the American model.
Like YMCA.
But your neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah, and they call it a club.
They call it a club. And it's a nominal fee that you pay. In fact, it's a nominal fee that if you can't pay, the government helps come in and pay for it.
Come on.
So it's all localized. Here's a kicker. Until age 12, no scores are kept.
Yes.
No standings are kept.
I wonder if the kids keep the score, though.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding.
When you're brought up in this environment.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But officially.
That is something unheard of.
Yeah.
No score is taken up to the age of 12.
Right. Could you imagine going to a 10 and under baseball game at a tournament and saying,
absolutely not.
We're not keeping score today?
Absolutely not. No.
No standings, nothing. There's no regional competitions until age 12. So you're playing in your local neighborhood until age 12. Kids don't begin specializing until they are late into high school, 16, 17 years old.
Junior, senior.
Yeah. You don't begin specializing. You're playing multiple sports. The whole model that they work off of is driven by fun.
Yeah.
They want their kids to be kids until they can't be kids anymore.
Yeah, when you said they didn't keep score until the age of 12, that was the first word that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Was fun. Like they just want the kids to have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they tailor it to that, right? We talked in the last episode about our American model where kids are dropping out most by age 11, right? In total for youth sports, 93% of Norwegian kids play some kind of sports. And that is through 18 years old.
Yeah.
Right. 93%. So they stress versatility, right? So I was looking at a couple articles that were written about this. And one was talking about, okay, well, what does that look like if my kid is going to play multiple sports? Like we tend to think in terms of football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, right? We have some kids that might play golf or some of the peripheral sports, tennis, but for the most part, it's the major team sports, right? So this is just an example of the versatility for an athlete in Norway. Handball, golf, tennis, track, cross-country skiing. Some of the things that are kind of off the beaten path that most people would not even consider play. So these kids are heavily involved in these things. And so the thought is that when these kids are playing so many sports, they're going to stumble across something they actually like. In Norway, they're pushing their kids to really have to build relationships with the other kids, right? They see a huge or a sociological advantage in their country when these kids are just playing together and learning how to do things together and have fun. Right. So, for example, they have a national youth sports policy.
What is that?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that. So here's some things that their national youth sports policy. Okay, and before I say this, like if you were going to implement something like this, let's just say our own league. Let's not even get into America, right? But if you were going to implement some things as a policy for our sports league, what are some of the things that you would want to see our kids doing?
Well, primarily, I mean, having fun. I think I probably would spin it more towards the parents than the kids. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, yeah, that's a large part of it.
And that's what we've done,
right?
At the LC is we make parents understand that we are a recreational league that is focused on the fundamentals of the sport and also the virtues that comes along with what a kid has potential of learning in sports. I think, the parents sign a parent covenant in which they understand that this is a game. Their comments are supposed to be, encouraging and uplifting. It can't be anything negative at all. And, kids get equal playing time. I mean, as much as possible. Like playing time is important.
Yeah. All great things. So, we look at what the policy in Norway is on a national level. These are the things that they focus on. Development of friendship and solidarity. So we use the word teamwork a lot, right? How to play together, how to be a good teammate, that kind of thing. But they go one step further and talk about friendship. Not just playing as a teammate, but becoming a friend to someone.
That's huge because, I mean, that even takes it a step further from our league. Because even in this season, in soccer season, the word that we're using is energy, and the E stands for the expectation that we're going to be one. Like that word solidarity.
Yes,
we're going to play as one, and then the N stands for number one. By the way, you're not number one. Is the approach that we take. In talking about humility. So this goes a step further, not in just teaching about teamwork, but taking that teamwork a step further, and just the understanding of like if you're going to be a good team, something that we see college athletes talking about, how they are their brothers or their sisters on the court, and they depend on each other. I don't know that that's something that we teach in youth sports, even in our league, is friendships.
Yeah. I mean, and those last a lifetime, right? You talk about, I love the solidarity aspect of it because we do preach teamwork. I feel like we do a pretty good job in this country of preaching teamwork as well, but it's also hand in hand with a wink, wink, but I want you to be better than that kid.
No doubt.
Right. Like you can be a good teammate as long as you're doing better things than that kid.
Yeah.
And so that's
and we don't teach the fact that, I mean, just because little Johnny is a great first baseman doesn't mean that you have to be a better third baseman.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like everybody has their place.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And everybody contributes to the solidarity of the team.
Right.
I don't know that I've said that word much.
Yeah, no, that's good. The another thing in their policy, the kids must be granted opportunities for variation, which we've talked about. Training and interaction with others. So this is not a hey, let's go do some training one-on-one with a private trainer. And get better at your craft, which we see a lot of in this country. Yeah.
What are the other examples that is specialized?
Well, I mean, both of my boys have done pitching lessons.
Pitching is one
for a long time.
Yeah,
just
libero in volleyball, like specifically libero.
Yeah,
specifically setter, specifically hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you go through all the sports and you can find that we do that. And so Norway says no, not at this age. Like there's, and by the way, how much are you spending every time you go to one of those private lessons?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. And Norway says, no, we're not doing that. We're preaching solidarity. We're preaching interaction with others.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Especially in the culture of, the phone.
Yes.
Where, kids can get so caught up in just looking at a phone for all of their social interactions.
Yeah.
You get a comment or a like on your post, then that classifies today as interacting with others.
Right. Yeah.
That's just not true.
That checks the box.
So specifically in Norway, they're teaching interaction, with others. That's huge.
Which goes hand in hand with the friendship thing and the solidarity and all of that. I love this one. This is a big one. The kids participate in planning the training activities. They get to talk to the coaches and the parents and say, these are the things that we'd like to do. And the coaches and parents have to listen to them. Now, I don't live in Norway. I've never coached in Norway.
We don't know how this plays out.
I don't know how it plays out. But I love the idea of, and in a simple way, I think back to last year in summer camp, specifically dodgeball camp, and we have all of these little youngsters running around, and I'm like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, and they're like, can we just play this?
Can we just play?
Yes.
Can we just play?
Right.
Yeah.
And
so going back to that, the kids participate in planning in the training activities, again, going back to fun and the Norwegian experience of only keeping score, once you get to age 12, like that fosters everything that you've mentioned so far is fostering an environment of fun.
Yes.
And we see that this has paid off because what did you say? 93% of kids play sports in Norway. That's lifelong, where it was 67% by the age of 11
in America are done.
So again, this just focuses on, the fun of just being a kid and just playing just to play.
So to touch on that a little bit, you just mentioned it. It's a lifelong experience for Norwegians that well into adulthood, they're still playing sports. Now, maybe that's running, maybe it's swimming. I don't know, but they're still playing handball and sports like that. So
here's a quote for you, Todd. And it's along those lines.
Okay.
I forgot who said this, but it goes like this. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing.
That's great. I love that. When you think about the long-term effects of it, like healthcare, if you're still playing sports, well into adulthood, your health, there's so much, beneficially for you there.
Right.
As a country, one of the things I was reading about is Norway said, our healthcare costs are near what other countries are because our people are by and large healthy.
Right. Yeah.
And you mentioned how cold it is there. I don't want to get out and do anything in cold weather. But yet people are still by and large healthy because they're doing this stuff. So going back to their national policy. So here's one more thing that will hit a nerve. Parents may not pressure children in competition against their will. And so let me translate that. When a kid says, I don't really want to play this game, and dad says, well, you're gonna, that is not allowed.
And let me just say, we have a handful of kids in our soccer league right now who you can tell by the way that they practice and they play and their interactions with others, they do not want to be there.
Yeah.
Parents, if your kid doesn't want to play a sport, please don't make them. I know that you're doing it with the best of intentions. You want them to be physically active. That is a great thing. But if a kid doesn't want to be at a sport, find other ways for them to be physically active. You are not doing them a favor. Yeah. You're not doing their coach a favor. You're not doing the other teammates a favor by throwing your kid into a sport because you just want them to be active. And you believe and you know that sports offers so many opportunities for life lessons. Make sure that you find them something that is active that they enjoy doing. Do not push them into something they don't want to do.
Yeah, for sure. And this translates into, like you said, it's about the joy that they get from these things. And going back to our discussion about summer camp last year, when the kids start saying, no, we want to play this, we want to play that. Well, in the American model, it's, well, you're not just going to come out here and play because you're not going to get better unless we're doing these drills, right? Yeah. But in this model, it's, you know what? Yeah, let's play this. Why? Because you're developing a joy for that sport. Yeah. That the kids, when we do things the way that we do things, we're creating burnout so much because the kids have to do drill after drill after drill in the name of getting better, in the name of being better than someone else or other people.
Or getting them ready for game day. You know?
Right.
I think about our coach of the week a couple of weeks ago, Jake Kaler, who his sweet spot are 4 and 5 year olds. Yeah. And you can't do drill after drill after drill with 4 and 5 year olds. No. But what you can do is incorporate games that, whether they know it or not, they're getting better because you've put together games that deal specifically with an aspect of the game. Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's just to your point.
But even our basketball league, our 5th and 6th graders, 10, 11 year olds, and it gets so incredibly competitive. If we didn't keep score or standings in that league, I would venture to say a lot of our parents would say we're not interested in playing.
And that's true. And somebody asked me the other day, why do you think basketball is such a different environment than soccer? By way of, soccer is very competitive. It is, you feel the competition in the gym, whereas in soccer, you're outside. It's more, I don't want to say enjoyable, but there's way less tension, right? But this goes back to, when you're in a basketball gym and you see the score after every single bucket that's made. Yeah. And we don't have a scores table at soccer, right? So regardless of whether a team is getting scored on or not, visually seeing the score just does something to the psyche of both the players, the coaches, and the parents. Right. There was a team this past week, bless their hearts, they had a tough time. Yeah. It was a lot to a little, but I'll tell you what, that score wasn't up there. And even though the team knew that they were getting beat, I'll go ahead and say it, pretty badly, the coach still had enough wisdom to respond in a way that he still made sure, this is David Byatt, by the way, he still made sure that they coached them individually and that they still improved at the end of the game. Right. There was no tension in, looking at a score, and just the defeat that goes into, oh man, we're getting beat, know? Right. So this goes back to, the Norwegian model of not taking score until the age of 12. Yeah. There's just something that changes the atmosphere. When you see that score, it changes. It's a pride thing. It's an ego thing. It's like, let's go, Right.
Right. Yeah. And it's an environment that we have created.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, I don't know, what would there was one article I was reading about this, and it was a Norwegian athlete, an adult who had won in the Winter Olympics, and they were discussing this topic with him. And they were talking about, American kids, they're competing at these regional levels at 8, 9 years old. And his response was, what? Like that he couldn't believe the level that we had gotten to in this country, because they just view it as it's fun. Sports is fun until you get, to the last half of high school and you start specializing in something. And by that time, the thinking is that you have come to love a sport so much that, of course, it's a natural movement for you to want to specialize in it at that point. Yeah. So their emphasis, just to kind of wrap this up, is on public health, because they view, sports, youth sports specifically, as a means to get you to grow to love having physical activity and being involved in things of a physical nature. Development. They want you to develop as a person, not necessarily as an athlete, but as a person. Physical education, which goes back to what I think was originally designed in this country. Physical education implies that we're learning about our bodies. We're learning nutrition. We're learning things that are going to help us be healthier, as opposed to what it has become, just one giant competition. They emphasize recreation, social relationships, and through sports, and then physical and mental health. How many times do we hear people? I mean, we say it to each other, like, "You're stressed out, go work out. Go get a run in. Go get a workout in," because it lowers that that stress level. And so they see it that way.
That's good, man. Norway, you're doing some things right. So if you're listening to us in Norway, keep doing what you're doing, because you are an example to us Americans.
And we are going to take a trip to Norway to verify this.
Yes.
Preferably in the warmer months.
Yes, no doubt, for sure. Man, Todd, thanks so much for this. This has been good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, this is the end of episode 41. Again, thanks for listening. Again, we're all about winning with your home team, and that's your family. So continue to take a look at, how you guys are doing as a family in relation to youth sports. And if you haven't followed us on social media, go do that right now. We'd love to interact with you. Man, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing us ramble about youth sports or other strangely interesting sports topics related to families, please go and like and subscribe to the show so that you can get regular updates when a new podcast is released. We'd also love to connect with you. Head on over to our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We're under LC Sports and Recreation.
And if you're new to our podcast, go check out some of our previous episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. There's some good stuff on there. And pay attention, because these come out pretty quickly, weekly, as a matter of fact. And you're going to learn a lot about what we have to say with regards to our league and how to win with the home team.
Let me run to try to get her.
Okay.
Dealio.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it went
Yeah, appreciate it.
stupendously.